Hello, everybody. I'm Derek Arden, and welcome to Monday Night Live and Uncut podcast, where I interview some amazing speakers, leaders, thought leaders on the show. Today, I've got Leon Bamforth on from Leeds. Leon is a business consultant, does a lot of work in the NHS, and talks about hybrid and remote teams working together, which is a fascinating area because with Zoom, with working from home, this is going to happen for a long time. Leon, just tell us a little bit about you, just a snapshot about your story.
Yes, so I'm one of five children. I have three older brothers, and then 10 years. Hello, everyone, by the way. 10 years younger than me is my little sister. And I remember going to my dad. I went to my mum and said, "Mum was." I probably shouldn't tell this story live on the internet, but Mum, was Hannah an accident? She said, "No, absolutely not, absolutely not." And I went to my dad and said, "Dad, was Hannah an accident?" He said, "Yes, son, yes, son." But, my dad was he owned a building company. He was a builder his whole life, and I dabbled in that as a child, along the family business. But it was back-breaking work. So I thought when I was choosing a career, I thought I'd choose something in more computing, a bit easier, and I just loved the idea of technology and how I can use technology, and so my first degree was in robotics, or cybernetics, the interface between man and machine. But I never really forgot my dad's building in terms of how he used tools and the simplicity of them. And I think we lose that a lot of the times in our modern world. So that's a lot of what I talk to businesses about, is just getting back to basics. How do you use things effectively, efficiently, and actually how do you get the most out of, how do you create an engaging atmosphere that people love being in?
And you called yourself a recovering techie on your website, which I like. I like people calling themselves things like that. We had Jenny on before who called herself a recovering perfectionist. So tell us about this remote and hybrid working, which fits into a lot of things you do and seems to me to be very difficult for some of the leaders to manage people properly. How do you work with people?
Well, I think that kind of comes to the recovering techie idea, to be honest. So as a techie, you kind of get into the habit of becoming a know-it-all. I know everything. I know exactly how to deal with this. I know how to solve this. Before I've even looked at your problem, I already know how to solve it. The answer is more IT. You go to any IT department in the country, I've got this problem, and they say, "Fantastic, we've got an IT solution for you." And in reality, that a lot of the problems come down to actually people and talking to each other. And technology is incredibly useful. It's fantastic that when my sister lived in Spain for 10 years, I could just call, I could video call her, I could see her every week, we'd be in contact. Technology is absolutely phenomenal, but it's also horrendous because it just stops us connecting with people. It stops us doing the basic thing that has made humanity, helped humanity get to this point, out of the caves and the plains of Africa all the way, and we've developed all the way, and then we've got to this point and achieved phenomenal things, technology and working together. But often it's the working together bit that, for whatever reason, we struggle to maintain. We've got the tech, but we just struggle with that working together bit.
And that's got a lot worse since clearly since COVID and people working from home. Lots of debates about whether people should work from home or not. How do you put those teams together when some people are on Zoom, some people are on Teams, some people are in the office, and clearly there's friction?
Well, exactly, but it comes back to people. How do you create? Really, it doesn't matter what the environment is. So you can strip away the technology for a second and say, how do I create an environment that enables my teams to thrive? Now, if you happen to be in the middle of a pandemic, and so you're in this new environment where actually, and you're able to use Zoom or Teams or whatever, then you have an opportunity to still continue working, still continue moving forward. But I think the things that worked before don't necessarily work in that environment. So I remember being on one call during the pandemic where a leader, a manager, was trying to do the right thing. One of his employees, evidently he knew she was struggling a little bit, and so on a call of, I don't know, maybe 20 people on the call, he starts asking her that really personal chat about how are you doing really? You know, how are you really? She bats it off and says, no, I'm fine, I'm doing well. Yeah, but yeah, I'm well aware that you've got struggles at home, your mum's sick, your dog's ill. Yeah, how are you? And yeah, she's in front of 20 people that
Oh,
she's no idea about. This idea that his impulse was absolutely right. You know, he needs to be caring and empathetic and aware of what's going on. But the way he did it, he could have got away with, you know, in a couple of minutes before a meeting starts, usually he could have got away with that. But now you need to book a one-to-one and just have a chat and just allow things to organically happen. So it's just about consciously using the technology. I don't think there's anything. I know there's a lot of talk in the press at the moment, isn't it, about, you know, should we force people back into work? And I know loads of businesses I talk to are talking about, should we force people back into the office? I think the question comes down to, what are you trying to achieve? Because if you're trying to achieve engagement, productivity, enabling people to come together, what you want to do is bring the whole team together. If you're starting to have that dictatorial approach again of, you must do this, you must spend 2 hours of your day commuting, you must do, you know, like, the world's moved on. So if you do that, you're going to lose the best people, you're going to create resentment and bitterness, and you're going to actually create the opposite of the effect you're trying to bring about. So it's just about consciously thinking about, what am I actually trying to achieve? Where do I actually want a business to go? And then I've got the tools available. How do I use them? So building a team in a hybrid world or in a remote world is similar to building a team, because we're still human, in an office world. But you just need to be much more aware of, well, how do I make sure people aren't feeling isolated alone? How do I make sure people are not taking the mick and going to the beach all day? Or you just got to be more aware of, as a leader. And it's hard work. You know, no one's going to tell you this isn't hard work, but the results are, you know, it can be incredibly rewarding.
so the leaders need to do more managing. Is that what you're saying? Because checking up on, you know, the fact that some people are always going to skive, aren't they? Some people are always going to go to the beach sometimes and check their emails on the beach and things like that. Does that mean more? Does that mean more control, or not?
No, I think ultimately it's about more trust. You manage what you can't trust, right? So if you can't trust that your employees are going to turn up, they're going to deliver, they're going to do what you need to do, then yeah, you need to manage that much more closely. But as you start to get used to things, and you start to allow them to work in the way that works for them, then you're going to get the best out of them. Ideally what you want is self-motivated employees, don't you? You want people that just turn up, do the job, love what they're doing, and do the right things for doing the right things. The minute you start down the process of micromanaging, then you're going to lose. So it needs to be a balance of, do we trust people and inspire them to do the right thing? But actually, and I've been in a situation, I'm leading teams, as you mentioned. So I'm leading teams in the NHS at the moment, the National Vaccination Programme. And, there are times when people are taking the mick. And so you've got to have difficult conversations, and you can't hide from that. You've got to make sure you've got the right team to bring together. But so that it's not about micromanaging them all the time. It's about keeping an eye on it and being aware of things, so that you have the right conversations at the right time and put the right things in place at the right time to enable people to be the best they can be, and to make sure you've got the best team that you have, to get the results you need.
Absolutely, that is quite tricky for all of us that have managed people and led people. You don't always get the right people, do you? But that's a subject for another day. The National Vaccination Programme, that sounds really interesting. Tell us about that and what you're doing there.
Yeah, so I joined a couple of years ago. Like I said, leading a couple of teams, not delivering the national booking service, which is if you go to Google and type in "I'd like my vaccination, pretty please," then the service that I'm leading teams on is what comes up. And yeah, it's been an amazing project to work on. The pressure, you can imagine, when the pandemic first happened, the pressure the people were under in order to deliver the services to enable the country to get back to work. Essentially, that's the focus. And so, going back to how do you set up teams, and how do you set up remote teams, and are they going to work hard? Are they going to be at the beach? Well, this team had absolutely no choice. You know, it had to deliver for the whole country was there to needed what they were delivering, and so the fact is, when you have that sort of really clear focus, then you get the right people, and the people that can't cope with that quickly disappear. You know, there was as the original team were kind of moving on, we were having really some really nice discussion with them. It's absolutely lovely people to work with, and they would say things like, you know, this has been the most rewarding thing I've ever worked on in my entire career. I don't imagine I'll work on anything so rewarding again. I actually disagree. I think all of us can find that vision and passion to enable us to deliver fantastic things wherever we are. But it was certainly a unique place of pressure, but excitement and real a real sense of achievement. You know, sometimes we get to think of, oh, you're just going to work through the 9 to 5 or the daily grind. Well, this absolutely wasn't that. These were people coming together to deliver amazing things, and for the reason of getting the country back out working. So it was just amazing to work on.
Now, you told me a story when we were rehearsing this about an IT man or woman who was totally exhausted, and you talked to them, I think, didn't you, about 8 o'clock at night? Tell the story.
Yeah, I mean, this is just one of loads of examples of this. You know, the passion, but also the dedication of this team. So this particular programmer was working late at night, and you know, they were working nights, weekends, just every hour under the sun, pretty much to enable the country to get back working again. And so he's working till 8 o'clock at night, and he suddenly says, you know what, now's the time to have a break, and I can't do this anymore. And he goes downstairs, turns on the TV, and sees his ultimate boss, then Prime Minister Boris Johnson, announcing that the whole country is going to get vaccinated in the next 2 weeks for the next booster. So a year last December, and so, you know, you can imagine having the Prime Minister announcing that, and knowing that the tech that you're working on is going to be needed to enable that to happen. You know, everyone's going to flood to your service to get those vaccinations, and he realized that it wasn't there yet. You know, it wasn't going to cope with the work, so he had to turn the TV off. He goes back upstairs and carries on coding again all weekend until the Monday morning, and then the software was magically ready for the Monday. So yeah,
he actually got it ready, Leon, did he? He actually
get it ready. Yeah. No,
wow, fantastic.
They delivered. Flip it.
Yeah.
They were such a phenomenal group of people. They absolutely delivered. And there's so many stories like that in the NHS of dedicated people who pulled up all the stops to enable us to get back out and get back working. And I know there's some questions about, you know, the approach the government take or the approach that, you know, Partygate and all these sort of negative aspects of it. But there's also, you know, some really beautiful stories of humanity coming together to do what humanity does best. They've got a problem, it's focused, and they came together and worked together to resolve it. And ultimately, that's what humans are great at. If you think of all the things we've done over the last, you know, 100,000 years, ultimately it comes down to humans coming together. It's not the lone genius, it's humans coming together, massive problem, solve it together with new technology, new ways of working, but ultimately as a team to achieve stuff. And that's humanity's superpower.
Clear goals. And we had Damien Lewis on last week, who was talking about the goals of the SAS when they were fighting against the Nazis for all our interests. And that's a perfect example of people fighting for all of humanity in the UK. Now, you're a mediator. You studied under the Civil Mediation Council and got your qualifications there. Do you have to use that very often in your work?
All the time. At the end of the day, the NHS is a fascinating place to work. It's both a wonderful and a frustrating place to work. You can imagine it's a very federated organization where you got loads and loads of organizations all over the place, and so when you're coming together for a project, and this, you know, this similar in any corporation that I've worked with as well, and businesses where you've got a transformation project you need to achieve, something really difficult, and you need to bring people together from loads and loads of different teams. Well, how do you do that? And the reason I went and did the mediation qualification is because it seemed to align with a lot of what I was doing already, in terms of you have to negotiate with all these people and bring the best out of them, help them realize where they're valuable, what they're good at, and help them work with these other people that they think are maybe the enemy, but actually working together, you can find a way to bring this transformational approach across. I absolutely love doing that. It brings me it's such a buzz when you kind of see everything, the death by committee, kind of everything's kind of falling apart, and you manage to weave together that vision and that nightmare. Say, no, we've got a shared nightmare we want to avoid, shared vision we want to go towards, and you can get everyone together to kind of focus on, okay, your view is this, your view is that, your view is that, your view is that. We can build this view together to create a shared approach, and it's just so rewarding to do. But yeah, that's the mediation side of things. I use those skills every single day. It's incredibly useful.
Now, we've had Jane Gunn on here, who you know, of course, from the Speaking Association several times, and she always talks about putting people in a room and then splitting them up into different rooms. Did you get all these leaders into a room, and what was the ultimate number before it got out of hand, and how did you facilitate that? It sounds mind-blowing.
Yeah, I mean, so that was the interesting thing about the mediation, is that mediation is usually over maybe a half a day or a day, and you get people together that have essentially stopped speaking to each other. Now, usually when you get to the point of mediation, in a civil sense or commercial, usually you're trying to negotiate a divorce, because they hate each other and don't want to work together. What's sad is, well, there was an opportunity. Usually there was an opportunity 6 months, a year, 2 years previous, where if you'd have got them together then and got them in a room, actually you could have found a way to really enable something amazing to happen, make the world a little bit of a better place. They come together, they work together better, and you find this better route through. And so that's what I try and do with leaders, is we're trying to, before it's got to the really toxic stage, you want to work in right at the start of that and say, well, can we bring you together now? Can we nudge you back to health now? There's a guy called Dr. Gottman that worked a lot with relationships and how relationships fall apart. And his big thing was, what we don't focus enough is repairing relationships, doing the small little repairs. And so that's a lot what I work with leaders and the different teams that I work with, is doing these small little repairs to say, oh, you think you're not important, or you think you're not valuable. Let's make sure you feel respected, valued, make sure we know, where you're coming from, what your value is to us, and then we can all work together to achieve greater goals.
I've been very interested in toxic people, as some of you know, and I was in the States and I bought this book back called Toxic People. I've got to tell you, it's not a very good book, but it was a good cover. And I judge the book on its cover, as I usually do, pay $25 for it. But you've got an exercise you do when you're speaking on stage about toxic people. Can you share that with us now?
Yeah, well, why don't we do it live? Why don't we do it live? Anyone that got the camera on, I just want you to put your hand up if you ever met a toxic person. Paul's had a lucky life. He's never met a toxic person.
Yeah, it looks like Nancy has as well, actually. All the sound's gone.
All of us, the hands go up pretty quick. And when you do this in a sea of people, I do this at the start of a keynote often. You do this in a sea of people, everyone's met that toxic person. Okay, so now I want you to put your hands up if you're a toxic person.
Oh. Well, I must have been sometime, I suppose. So being honest, no one else is being honest here. But
this is the point. So we've got John is like, well, sometimes maybe I've let myself down a little bit. Jill, you kind of, again, being a bit honest. Yeah, sometimes. And this is what you see. So what you see when you have a room full of people, this one works a bit better in person, or when everyone's microphones are on, because what you'll hear is immediately people say, yeah, I've met a toxic person. And then when you ask the second question, are you a toxic person? Yeah, sometimes, occasionally. And I've yet to find the room Where are all the toxic people hiding? Not found them yet. And so the truth is, we're very quick to label other people as toxic, or they're a toxic person. But we have all the reasons why, well, we let ourselves down sometimes, but, you know, overall, we're a good person. And that's the point, isn't it? We're so quick to treat each other like objects. Like, we understand everything that's going on. But if we can be curious about what we don't know, and curious about actually how can we understand what's driving people's behavior, why are they acting like that? Often it's fear, often it's, you know, they don't quite understand the situation, or maybe you don't understand the situation. Actually, that's when magic happens. I came across a phenomenal quote in a book that I read called the Tavistock Lectures, and he said, never trust someone that says they have the truth. If someone owns the truth, then they're not a fun person to talk to. Actually, what's fun is getting people together to find the truth together. And his argument is that truth is glimpsed between people as we kind of work towards a better place. And I've found that absolutely to be true. And I think it helps us stop being a toxic person when we're always curious about, well, what don't I know? What information am I missing that might totally change my view of this situation, totally change how I approach it.
I think curious is one of the most fantastic words that we can use and ask ourselves, just being curious about people, curious about what we can learn. And of course, there are some politicians, both sides of the pond here, who think they know the truth, but certainly sell it as the truth. And people buy it, don't they? Which is the scariest thing of the whole lot. Absolutely.
Yeah, well, I've found there's no correlation between confidence and competence. So yeah, be wary of the totally confident salesman.
That's
Yeah,
no, absolutely right.
yeah.
Now, you have a book out, Leon, which has a very unusual title. So it's called Find Your Rat to Double Your Income. Now, I'm not very keen on rats, and I'm told that London's full of rats. And in fact, the rats are everywhere. Why did you call your book that title, and what's the point you're making?
This is a fun book to write. I really enjoyed it. It was pretty autobiographical, so it's kind of mapping how I've got to where I've got to. And there was one experience that made all the difference to me. There was one particular friend that I know him very well, and he was really excited that he'd found this opportunity. He decided that he wanted to earn more money, and he decided, how can I do that? So he looked at job boards and he went through and found all the jobs he'd be interested in doing, and found out what are the qualifications that they'd want. And he found one that he thought, well, with a little bit of investment in training, I could get this job, and it doubled his income. So he was just raving about it, just telling everyone. And when he told me this, I was amazed. You know, I would like to double my income, pretty please. And so I listened to him and actually put into practice what he said, and actually did double my income. My brother has since said a few times, "Oh, I just wish I'd listened to it. It just seems so unlikely." But absolutely, it was easy to do. But I asked him a few years after that. I said to him, "Robin, how many people did what you told them to do?" And he said, "Just you, just you." I thought, that's interesting, because a lot of the other people I was talking to, I talked to someone and said, "Oh, Robin only just talks about money. That's all he talks about." But actually, it's not like he was bragging. He was telling you how to do something. He was just excited about knowledge he learned. And it just reminded me so much of the phrase of you know, it's said that if you walk through London, you're never further than 6 feet from a rat. But we never see them, do we? Because we always stick to the clean, the well-trodden paths that everyone else goes down. And it turns out there's so much opportunity around us that if we go down the less trodden paths and we have a look at things that may be a bit scary or a bit dark and you know, we're unsure of, there's loads of opportunities that are there that we're just completely oblivious to, but we just don't look. So we stick to the well-lit path. We stick to the well-trodden path, rather than actually, sometimes you need to go to the place that's a bit scary and you're a bit unsure of, and you can find amazing things. And that is genuinely how I double my income. um, 5 years back.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Now I talked about this telephone etiquette that came out on Friday from Debrett's, the people who tell us about equity for etiquette for the last 250 years, allegedly. But some of those things surprised me a little bit. You're now supposed to text people before you phone them. You're not supposed to leave voicemails. But we were talking about emails earlier, weren't we, Leon? Before we press the recording, and I get pretty cross with some emails. But you were coaching someone that sent 2 emails and then raised it to their boss. What was that all about?
I mean, this comes back to the future of work. The remote teams and the hybrid teams. How do you enable people to be productive in those sort of environments? The fact is, we have tools around us to enable us to do a job. And when my dad, watching my dad as a builder, he needs to put a nail into a piece of wood. He chose the right hammer to do it. You don't get a sledgehammer to do it. You get a nail. But the problem is, we have tools now in our information world that are really, really powerful. It enables us, rather than to do things, enables us to hide from things that are scary from us. So what do we use email for? Often we use email to hide from difficult conversations rather to enable us to have better conversations. So I went to one particular client and I said, what's the biggest conflict you've got? What's the biggest conflict you've got that's stopping you delivering what you need to do on this program? And she thought for a second and said, I've got one particular supplier that are just not responding to us. We really, really need what they're delivering. They just won't speak to us. I said, okay, that's fine. What have you done to get them on board? Well, I sent them an email. Okay. Well, what did you do next? Well, I sent him another email. But don't worry, I escalated it to his manager. Oh, brilliant. How did you do that? Well, I sent him an email and copied in the first guy. And, that's how she thought you should deal with conflict. So instead, I said, well, I'll resolve this. I'll sort this out. So instead, I gave the guy a call and said, oh, can I come chat to you? And we arranged a time, a couple of days' time. I went and sat on his desk, and it turns out he had far more work than he could ever possibly do. And ours was on the bottom of the pile. He didn't really understand what we needed. So we just had a chat. We had a talk, and we just connected generally, and then we talked about, oh, these are the things we need for the project. This is what's needed to get this unblocked. And lo and behold, by the end of the week, we'd got exactly what we needed, and he delivered what we needed for him. And this huge conflict that was holding up the entire program of work was unblocked. And it just amazes me how something as simple as email, which amazing technology that enables us to contact people across the globe and enables us to do fantastic work, but can be used to get in the way of connecting to people. Any technology that's used to get in the way of connecting is not being used well. This technology where we've got people on from Hawaii or all across, we can use Zoom, we can use technology to bring humanity together, or we can use technology to split humanity apart. And what I'm interested in, bringing humanity together.
Absolutely, Leon. And we're out of time actually, but I just want to show everybody on this call this little magic trick that you and I have developed, where it's a secret trick. Are you ready? How about that trick? That's absolutely magic. And of course, if you put your thumb up, we also get a thumbs up. So there you go. That's technology is available from Liam and I for £5,000. Just send us an email and your check, and it'll be in the post as usual. Liam Bamforth, thanks for joining us on Monday Night Live. That's been absolutely fascinating. Lots of things to think about, and can I ask members of Monday Night Live to give Leon the usual vote of thanks. Thanks very much. Will you stay on and join us for our informal discussions?
That'd be great.
Thanks. If anyone wants to get hold of you for speaking or sorting out some of these very complicated issues that need collaboration, how do they find you?
Well, I've got my website, www.leonbamforth.com. So all my contact details are on there. If you want to get in touch, just put Leon Bamforth to Google and just pick up the phone. Ideally, you can send an email if you want. I'll definitely call you back if you send an email. But yeah, I'm easily available on the internet.
Well, I said that people have, I learned this morning, you've got to text someone before you call them now under the new rules. But there we are. Thanks for joining us, and we'll talk to you soon. If you've enjoyed this, please like it on YouTube or on Spotify or any of the channels. And thanks for joining us, and join us live any Monday night on Monday Night Live at 5 o'clock.